So let's explore together today how understanding your own mental blueprint can unlock your focus, adaptability, and help you for lifelong growth. Just the awareness of it helps you. And it turns out there's actually a word for it. So it's called the consciousness awareness effect. And so this enhances your awareness of how cognitive functions influence your behavior. This effect plays a pivotal role in strengthening your cognitive functioning, increasing engagement and readiness to embrace frustration, and the necessity for heightened effort in response to varying situations and demands. We've got a specific way to articulate that now. Okay, so just by the very fact of you watching this video, listening to our talk and the concepts, is doing half the work for you. Okay, because your thinking, it's not a black box or a blob anymore. Okay, there's components to it. You can identify them, and so that's half of the work. Okay, the other half is going to be left up to you. I'm going to help you out with that though. So psychologist Feuerstein also said that the brain not only produces certain behaviors, but also is actually shaped by the behaviors that the individual imposes on the brain. Okay, your brain induces behaviors in you. We can see that, but the behaviors that you also are engaged in, they actively shape your brain. So each time you practice a new mental strategy, you sort what matters, you slow down to check the details, or restructure a complex task, you're actually refining your brain's wiring. Okay, let's talk about the machinery of thinking here. They've broken it down into 3 phases. Okay, there's a number of cognitive functions that, as you'll see, have been kind of neatly organized into phases. So imagine that your mind is a sophisticated set of cognitive functions grouped into 3 phases that may or may not work in sequence. Okay, so there's input, elaboration, and output. And every time you tackle a challenge or learn something, you're using these 3 phases. So the input phase is about gathering data, seeing, hearing, reading, or sensing information. And elaboration is where you connect, compare, analyze, or synthesize ideas. The output phase is how you act on what you've processed. So your decisions, your words, your actions. So where do things get off track here? Sometimes you might collect every detail, which is amazing for precise analysis, but you may falter at selecting what actually matters. So this is a classic input challenge. Other times, you may leap from information to solution so fast that you skip and lose details, a sign that your elaboration phase could use some tuning. Or you may struggle to explain your thinking or lose steam translating ideas into plans. That would be an output bottleneck. So researchers like Feuerstein identified 27 distinct cognitive functions that are distributed across these phases. So there's everything from systematic exploratory behavior, this is one of them, to logical evidence pursuit, that's another. You can find the list of these 27, I'll provide that to you in the description, and go through them, see which one you may want to improve on, which one you struggle with, right? And then you can see which ones you're doing well. Remember, these are all spectrums. So it's not that, oh, this works or it doesn't work. It's like, how well does it work? So, and they don't all develop equally in everyone. Some become highly efficient, others become inefficient, and still others of these cognitive functions may be nearly absent or what we call deficient. So by figuring out which phase holds you back, you can target it for improvement. So here, let's get to the meat here. Okay, this is very important because I'm going to explain to you 3 common patterns, and these are difficulties, right? Challenges in the cognitive functions and how they show up for everyone. Okay, 3 patterns, and you could see if any of these kind of register for you. Okay. So the scientific literature and the assessments, they showed 3 attention focus patterns that are problems for many people. Let's see which ones resonate with your own experience. So pattern A, this is called the overload of details. So you might be someone who naturally pays sharp attention to every detail, colors, numbers, nuances, names, and this makes you great at deep thinking, analysis, creative brainstorming. But the challenge is, if everything matters equally, it becomes overwhelming to prioritize. So when you struggle to classify what's relevant, you may get stuck starting tasks, organizing steps, or following through on your plans. You might find yourself thinking, where do I even start? Or feel mentally exhausted from holding on to too much irrelevant information. Your main cognitive struggle is often sorting relevance, which undermines your organization and makes you vulnerable to discouragement and anxiety. Now, I'm gonna quote you directly from the research here, what was said about pattern A, the overload of details. So attention and focus may be easily lost due to the lack of establishing relevance among the information arising from an unclear or incorrect definition of the problem. And the cognitive function here, this is verbatim, is ability to distinguish between relevant and non-relevant cues in defining a problem. Just think about that for a minute. That's 1 out of the 27 cognitive functions. So when an individual cannot establish what is relevant or irrelevant, everything holds equal importance. Okay? And then there's this inability to prioritize, which makes it difficult to determine a starting point. So you can see from this that organizing tasks, creating an action plan becomes an overwhelming challenge. And it's observed that many individuals complain of mental exhaustion and easy discouragement when they have this challenge. Okay, so that's pattern A, right? Overload of details. Pattern B here, it's skipping over the details. And by the way, I'd like to just make note of one of the primary research papers that contributed to our talk today. It's called Behind the Thinking of Attention Disorder by Daniela Zamboni and Vicky Snyder. This is Frontiers in Psychology. All right, so pattern B, skipping over details. So maybe you're more of a big picture thinker. You connect ideas at lightning speed, you spot patterns, and you often find out-of-the-box solutions. But the trade-off is you can rush so fast you miss key facts, or you jump to the end without clearly explaining your process. You might have trouble organizing your thoughts in sequence, or others may feel lost as you explain your conclusions with missing steps. So this pattern often leads to impulsivity, feeling a sense of urgency, and sometimes even impatience or frustration when tasks feel too slow-paced. So you're great at imagining possibilities, but the details and the sequence are your Achilles heel. Now let me reference or quote from the research here so you get a better understanding of this pattern B, skipping over details. When thinking, I'm quoting, the information enters the cognitive system, is spontaneously associated and integrated, thus creating a new whole. So focus is easily lost as the individual doesn't stay with the information received, but instead moves on to this new whole that has been created. Right? If someone's going so fast, they're losing the sequence, this order. And so in their mind, at some point when they're catching up, they're just putting it together in a spontaneous way. So they're creating something slightly different, right? That's what we mean by a new whole is created. Because of the speed in integrating data, they may frequently pass over details, not discriminate the information clearly and precisely. So this, in the input phase, the cognitive function, I want to make sure to associate each of these with at least one or more cognitive functions, so you become more familiar with the cognitive functions. So in the input phase, the cognitive function clear and detailed perception, also systematic exploratory behavior, and well-developed need for precision and accuracy in data gathering, these three cognitive functions were identified as inefficient. All right, so pattern C. This is the third pattern. Okay, I'm only going to be sharing 3 of the most prevalent patterns that were found as being challenging. Okay, so pattern C. We're going to call it losing the thread here, but there's a different name for it. So perhaps your mental bottleneck is holding on to multiple pieces of information at the same time. You do all with simple tasks, but when the complexity grows, like more instructions, layers, or details, you lose track, you forget steps, or you get confused midway. So this is usually a working memory and comparison process challenge. Your mental field, this is the first time I'm mentioning this term, it's a very important, useful term. Your mental field feels narrow or episodic, okay? Narrow mental field. So forgetting what you just read or heard is common. And the struggle is not about effort, but limits in how many balls you can keep up in the air, so to speak, right? How many things you can hold, concepts, ideas, facts you can hold in mind at the same time. I'm going to quote to you directly from the research. So the individual struggles to maintain multiple pieces of information simultaneously in their mental field of reasoning. The mental field is usually narrow, resulting in episodic view of what is being thought. Okay, easy for simple reasoning, but more complex reasoning that requires you to keep several sources of information in mind, that could be difficult. So a common complaint for someone that has this challenge is forgetting what has been read. I don't know if you know that is something you can relate with. Sometimes when I'm reading, I do forget what I just read, and it could be due to fatigue. It could be due to the information not being so important to you, right? But just put some thought into this. If this is happening frequently, then it really could be due to a narrow mental field. The great news is you can work on this. You can greatly enhance that, okay? There's exercises you can do on your own. So I've introduced these 3 most common patterns or challenges, okay? What can you do to upgrade your own unique architecture if you have one or more of these? So the answer is to apply targeted interventions. And you can coach yourself, use mental exercises adapted straight from the cognitive research. So if you're wired for detail overload, which is pattern A, meaning there are too many details in your thinking and you get lost in the details, not being able to classify them in order of relevance, ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what do I actually need to solve this? Number 2, what is important? Number 3, how do I decide what isn't important? Number 4, what is my criteria for evaluating relevance? So challenge yourself here to boil things down and set priorities. The key function to train is distinguishing relevant from non-relevant information during problem definition. So that's for pattern A, okay? Those questions, you can replay this, write these questions down. What you want to do is use these questions at every opportunity on a daily basis. If you're reading in the evening, or if you can use it at work, repeat these questions, okay? And use them during this process of learning. And you'll find that over time, believe me, over time, your brain is going to change. You will make marked improvement on this. So pattern B, if you're like a skipper, for lack of a better word, meaning your lack of attention occurs due to the speed of information processing, and your associative thinking happens spontaneously, which leads to passing over details in the collection, not discriminating information clearly or precisely, okay? The key here is to become aware of the rapid thinking and its negative effect on your gathering precise and accurate information, okay? Becoming aware of your speed of thought. So after moderating your thinking speed, okay, you'll become aware of it. If you're going too fast, impatient, whatever it is that's making you zip through this, if you have to read something or listen to something, become aware of your thinking speed, moderate it, slow it down, okay? This is self-regulation. And ask yourself these questions. So I recommend you write these down. Where should I start? What step comes next? Can I explain how I got this answer in order? Have I missed any crucial details? And how do I proceed from here? These are great questions. These are questions straight from the research, guys. So if you've ever felt that your ability to focus, plan, or learn new things is just the way you are, the science now says otherwise. Well, whether you're a high detail analyzer, a creative fast thinker, or someone who fumbles with complexity, your cognitive architecture is not fixed. It's dynamic, it's modifiable, and it's always open to change. And approaches like the Feuerstein method, they illustrate that anyone, no matter the age or background, can rethink, retrain, and rebuild better cognitive habits. The practical lesson is this: if you know your pattern, use awareness and targeted practice to improve it, and ask the right questions, interrupt your unhelpful defaults, and give your brain a chance to prove just how adaptable and resilient you are. Every great upgrade starts with knowing your architecture, spotting your workflow bottlenecks, and refusing to treat them as permanent links. So cognitive modifiability is for all of us. So this week, I hope you can pick one pattern that you would like to explore in yourself. Think about your thinking and these cognitive functions, and dive into these mediational questions. See what shifts, see what changes you can achieve in even a week or 2 weeks' time. It's fascinating, and you can thank yourself for that. So your mind can grow on purpose starting today. All right, thank you for watching. Please take a second to like and subscribe to Henry's Millions. It motivates me to keep making these videos for you. Thanks.